What's up, guys? I'm Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health, fitness, social well-being. And today, guys, I want to talk to you about how, as a natural lifter, you have to train smarter than those who are not natural. Whether you want to say, roid users, enhanced lifters, whatever you want to call them, fake natties. As a natural lifter, you have to train differently. You have to be smarter with your training in order to get results and to see long-term gains continuously being made. So this is, guys, technically my first steroid talk, or and it's not just talking about illegal steroids or anabolic stuff like that. We're gonna be talking about testosterone, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's a very broad topic. There's a lot of different directions to go with it. But what I just want to explain to you guys is simply this. When I tell you guys about the most optimal way to train, the most effective way to train as a natural, and when I give you your different options, or even when I give you a way that's suboptimal, but explain that, hey, if you're training in the suboptimal way, you still need to follow these basic principles, because if you don't, you won't make gains. People, even though I say all over and over, I constantly say, I don't care what your favorite YouTuber says, especially considering the fact that chances are your favorite YouTuber isn't natural. They're so quick to be like, well, so-and-so does this, so-and-so does that, so-and-so trains this way, so-and-so says that, hey, you can do this and it's gonna work out. And let me be perfectly clear, guys. As I've said before in my video over how to discern valid fitness information from BS, valid info is valid info, regardless of who it's coming from. There are people out there who may be enhanced who can still give out really genuinely good fitness advice to people, especially when there's someone who's honest about the fact that their hands are like, yeah, I'm an enhanced lifter, this advice can apply to everyone generally, or this advice only applies to enhanced lifters, this advice only applies to natural lifters. So I'm not saying that because someone's enhanced by default everything they say is a lie or isn't true. But what you guys have to understand is that if somebody's a fake natty and they're presenting these different training methods, which we know based off science just have been proven to not work for naturals, and they're still getting results off of those methods, then they're probably not natural. But that's not what I want to focus on so much, as focus on the importance of helping you guys understand why you have to train a little bit differently as a natural. Because the main point I'm trying to hit on is this. The biggest argument that people try to make to me, it's not even really an argument, is that, well, even if they're on drugs, I can still train the same way that they do. I may not get the results as quickly, but I'll still get results because they still have to train hard in order to put on that muscle mass and size. This cannot be further from the truth, guys. This is a lie that has been sold to you by fake naturals that, hey, yeah, maybe, even people who are honest about it, any natural, even people, and maybe it's because they're just not informed, or because they really think that, yeah, I'm enhanced, but me putting in all this work still adds on to it. And that's true to a degree in the sense of, okay, if you do resistance training, right, and you are properly, progressively overloading, increasing your volume, doing all the things that naturals need to do to get stronger, and you're an enhanced lifter, then yes, you're going to put on muscle mass for sure, and your resistance training will yield you results in spite of your drugs. However, the mindset that someone who's on drugs cannot follow those principles and not progressively overload and stuff like that, and yet they'll still put on muscle mass because of their hard work, that's insane, guys. This is what you guys have to understand. The muscle mass that people put on due to anabolic steroids, due to testosterone, things like that, has nothing to do with their training. Absolutely nothing to do with it all. Meaning they don't have to train at all. They can sit on their butts for weeks, months at a time, and so long as they are on a good amount of testosterone drugs on the right stack, they will still put on muscle mass. That is what you guys have to understand. This mindset that they still have to work to get to where they are is not true. No, they did not. They could literally have sat on their butts and still build muscle. That's the thing, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and link the study down below, and I'm pretty sure some of you have seen this before, because I know other YouTubers have covered this, because this was a big thing for a lot of people, because a lot of people just couldn't believe it, even though anyone that looks at the science and research has known and understood this for a while. But the reality is, guys, is that the amount of muscle that any individual is gonna put on through resistance training alone averages out usually on average to be anywhere between 20 to 30 pounds of muscle mass. Now, that may not sound like a lot to most of you, but that is a crap load of muscle mass. If you imagine 30 pounds of lean muscle over your entire frame, your entire body, that's a lot of muscle. And keep in mind, you're not putting it all on at once. You'll maybe put on a huge majority of it in your first year or 2 years of those beginner gains, but then the rest of it comes very slowly, very gradually as you train throughout your years as a natural. And you usually may top that off if you're training smart, correctly, and consistently at around maybe age 30 or so. And a lot of it just depends on when you start too. Now, as I've explained before, that's from resistance training alone. You're still gonna put muscle mass on just from growing naturally, things like puberty, things like that. As you grow, as your bones get longer, your muscle has to cover that, right? So just from natural growth, yes, you put on a certain amount of muscle mass. When I say 30 pounds of muscle, I don't mean you're only gonna put on 30 pounds of muscle in your life. I'm talking about from resistance training alone, 20, 30 pounds is the average, excluding a very very few exceptional outliers. Some people may get a little bit less if they have like hormonal issues. Some people, if they're like just genetically, may get a little bit more, but not even that much more. Because really, getting to 30 pounds is pretty elite already as is. For most people, they're probably gonna be somewhere between the 20 to 25, depending on like their height, weight, etc. But what you guys need to understand is that the type of muscle that enhanced users get, that's more like the hormonal muscle, the muscle that we get from puberty. It's more like that. That's things like when they're on a bunch of testosterone. That's where that muscle mass is coming from. It has nothing to do with their training. So yeah, even if they max out their resistance training muscle as far as like the 20, 30 pounds, that has nothing to do with the drugs they're on. The muscle that they're getting comes from the drugs they're on, all that extra muscle outside of that, which means that yes, if somebody is enhanced and they're training, they're definitely gonna put on more muscle mass than somebody who's just enhanced but not training at all. But somebody who is just enhanced, just on testosterone, anabolics, etc., is going to put on more total muscle mass than somebody who just trains. That is a fact. You cannot get away from that. Like I said, I'll have the link in the description down below if you guys look at the study, but basically there were 4 groups, right? One group was a placebo group where I believe, I think they didn't work out at all. And they also didn't, work out at all, and they were on placebo testosterone. Like they thought they were getting testosterone, but it was just placebo. So they basically weren't working out and were on testosterone. Another group was a placebo group where they thought they were getting testosterone and were also working out, but they actually were just working out. They weren't on real testosterone. Another group was only on testosterone, but they did not work out. They did not do any resistance training at all whatsoever, but they were actually on testosterone. And then the final group was both. They were both on testosterone as well as training. So ultimately the results came down to the fact, and I believe the amount of testosterone was 600 milligrams. Like I said, I'll find the study for you guys. I'll link it down below. You guys look at that. 600 milligrams, guys, which mind you, may sound like a lot, but that's nothing compared to what a lot of these enhanced lifters are on. But this is what the final results were. Of course, the group that was on placebo testosterone and wasn't resistance training at all made no gains because they were on testosterone and they weren't lifting. The group that was on testosterone and lifting made the most gains, obviously. But here's where it gets, this is the bottom line, is the big point. The group that only did resistance training and was on the placebo testosterone, so they were just resistance training and not actually on testosterone, made less gains than the group that didn't train at all but was on the 600 milligrams of testosterone. It's as simple as that, guys. Even the group that was training made less total gains than the group that wasn't training at all but was on testosterone. So when these people tell you that, oh, I still have to work hard, when you guys come with me with this argument that like, oh, they still have to put in the work, guys, that's just a very ignorant thing to say. Like, you're misinformed. That's not true. And I know it sucks. That's the thing I want you guys to understand. Nobody wants to feel disappointed or let down. Nobody wants to feel like their favorite bodybuilder or powerlifter or whatever. It doesn't have to be in fitness. Nobody wants to think that the person they look up to is lying to them, scamming them, or screwing them. By default, it is human nature for us to reject things that go against what we've previously known. Why? Because we're adapted to what we know. We're comfortable with that. But that's why I always express, guys, with everything, like, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to learn to have an open mind and always be willing to learn more, and to learn that something you learn later may go against something that you previously thought, and that's okay. And that's why I said in fitness, you have to understand these principles that are true across the board, that have always been, will never change, versus the things that can vary, the things that we may find more research and learn more about certain things. But in terms of this, guys, it's just understanding that, of course, a guy's not gonna sit here and tell you that, yeah, all of my muscle mass is just due to my genetics and the fact that I'm enhanced. Of course they're not gonna tell you that, because then you have no reason to watch them. You have no reason to support them, because the mindset is, if I do what this guy does, I'll get where he's at. But that's just not how it is, guys. That's unrealistic. Even if it's too natural, the reality is you're never gonna look exactly like somebody else. We've already talked about this, how it works with genetics, etc., and that you ultimately have to focus on yourself and be the best version of yourself that you can be. But I want you guys to understand that as a natural, yes, you have to train smarter. You have to progressively overload. You have to, even if you do that through adding reps and sets and more volume, eventually at some point you are gonna have to add weight to the bar too. If you think you're just gonna be endlessly just keep adding sets and sets and reps and reps and reps and get the results you want, it's not gonna work that way. Even if you're doing high volume, like 5 sets of 12, 5 sets of 20, whatever, you are eventually gonna have to add weight to the bar. Whereas someone who's enhanced, they won't have to do that. They can use the same weight for the same reps, talk about time under tension, just holding and squeezing the muscle all day as long as they want, and they will continue to make gains that you will not see training the same way, because they are enhanced. And the muscle mass they are getting is coming from the drugs. Understand that that muscle mass comes from, it's the hormone hormonal type of muscle mass we get. Basically, imagine the muscle mass that you got going through puberty, but on overdrive. That's what they're getting. It's not the same as the muscle mass we get from resistance training, from mechanical tension, metabolic fatigue, etc. And I'm not saying this to call anyone out, because if you guys notice, I don't do that on my channel. My channel is not about calling this dude out or calling that dude out like, oh, this guy's a fake natty. No, I simply give you guys the science, the facts, and the research, so that way you can determine for yourself. You can look and know if somebody's being honest with you or not. Because at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter. That's the one thing that I will say. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big believer you have the right to do whatever you want with your body, as long as you're not infringing upon the rights of others. So I personally have no issue with people being on steroids or drugs or whatever. My issue is with fake natties who lie about it because they create a false perception. But really, I don't fault them as much as all of us, all of you, the viewers, who choose to just take what they say at face value instead of looking at the research and evidence for yourself. Ultimately, we can't expect bad people to change just because we want them to. It's up to us to educate ourselves and to be aware of what's going on, and to be aware of the fact that, okay, this guy may be saying all this, but what he's saying doesn't line up with facts, with science, with research. You have to put your own subjective perception of this person aside. He may be a great person, but his great personality does not negate science or research, guys. That's just how it is. That's just the truth of the matter. And now understand, yes, there's some cases where people are like, oh, this dude's a fake natural just because he looks better than what I would expect him to look, blah, blah, blah. And you can't go based off stupid things like that. Like, by that definition, everybody is considered a fake natty by somebody. Like, I'm 5'7", 160 pounds, been lifting for 6 years on top of 12 years of calisthenics, and I've had people call me a fake natural. Like, guys, I'm nothing impressive. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm very proud of how far I've come as a natural lifter, but anyone that's actually seen somebody who's actually on drugs, and anybody who understands the symptoms and how it works, would never think that I am. And if I am a fake natty, I'm the dumbest fake natty ever, because I'm going against everything that I should be doing as a fake natty to build up and promote myself, promoting things that have been proven to be best for natural lifters. Like, I should be promoting all kinds of crazy, stupid splits and random things that have nothing to do with fitness, but promoting it as like, this is gonna change your life and help you make gains, just so I can make a quick buck. So it's either that I'm being honest with you guys, or I'm the dumbest fake natty in the world. And I hope you guys think I'm more intelligent than that. But anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Like I said, I'll link down below the study and stuff like that. If you guys want me to have more talks, go into more details about the science behind different types of drugs, I'll consider it. But it's not something that I really want to focus on, because once again, there's plenty of channels out there that do it already, and my focus is on helping you guys the best way I can. And the thing is, I don't like telling you more about how these drugs work and stuff like that. I don't think it's really going to help you, because even if I give you some of the side effects, I don't want some of you guys being like, man, but I think those effects are worth it and hopping on it. Because at the end of the day, I'm about health, guys. I'm about health and fitness, and that's why for me personally, I don't mess with this stuff. I don't encourage any of you guys to mess with this stuff. If you do, that's on you. I don't bash any of you who watch my channels who are enhanced. I still appreciate the support, but that's just not what I'm about, because at the end of the day, I'm in this for health, fitness, and longevity. Everything else comes second to that. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a comment down below. Let me know that you did. If you did not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I can do to get better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch y'all later.